Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, traders? Welcome back and happy Money Monday. It is time to get dialed in. We are going to hit it hard today, and I'm looking forward to having a really good day at the market and a really good first day of June. And it's crazy saying that. It's like June? Like, bro, where did the last 5 months go? It's crazy on just how quick this year's flying by, man. It's already June, but we're going to have a really good start to the new month. It's day one, lady. Well, it's actually day two, but day one, first official trading day of the new month. We're going to crush it. We're going to have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take advantage of what we got in front of us, and we're going to have a really good month of June. So we're going to dive into it here in a moment. We're going to get you guys prepared for the day, talk about our top stocks, and really take this time to get prepped for an amazing session. But before we do that, you guys know the drill. You got to hit me with a good morning, guys. I need to make sure that we're good to go, that you guys are here, dialed in, ready to rock and ready to roll. And then we'll officially dive into it. Tom, what's up, brother? Happy Monday, Mr. Tom. And then all of you beautiful men and women over on TikTok as well. What's up, TikTokers? Good morning. Happy Monday. Jared said he's ready to run. I am ready to run it as well. I'm ready to make it happen with you guys. So quick audio check over inside of the Market Chatter platform. Let's make sure you guys are ready here. I know Tom can hear me because he said happy Monday, so Tom's good. And again, let's just make sure we do a quick audio check, make sure we are good to go. Real, what's up, buddy? But as always, before we dive into it, we're going to start with today's devotional, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so here we go. Today's was from Romans 14:8. And Romans 14:8 says, if we live for the Lord. And if we die for the Lord. So, whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. And that's powerful stuff, especially when you break this devotional apart and really pick apart the scripture. It really starts to make sense, and a lot would really resonate with this. Because, I mean, I resonated with this a lot, and it put a lot into perspective. And I've read this verse 100 times. So that's why I love reading the Bible. It's like every time you read it, it's like you get a completely different perspective. It's a powerful thing. So let's pick it apart. Romans 14:8. So we all live for something, right? Whether that's for a team, a career, a cause, your family, a reputation, a dream. We're all living for something. I mean, just look around. People proudly wear their forness like a badge of honor. We shape our priorities around it. We invest our time and energy into it and even let it define our identity. But here's the real question. Are we living for the Lord? I mean, it's easy to say yes, right? Like, yeah, I'm living for the Lord. I go to church on Sundays. Or, yeah, I'm living for the Lord. I believe. Or, yeah, I mean, I wake up and I read, a devotional in the morning and about that, right? So it's easy to say yes. But sometimes our calendars and our thought patterns tell us a different story, right? It's like, look at your calendar. It's like I work 8 hours a day. I spend some time with my family. I spend time on developing a skill set. I spend 3 hours a day in the market, right? Look at your calendar. Look at your priorities. Do we prioritize our relationships with God as much as we prioritize other things in our life? I mean, shoot, most people spend more time on social media doom scrolling through content than actually spending that time deepening their relationship with God. And so, yeah, it's easy to say yes, but when you really take a step back, look at the bigger picture, those calendars and our priorities really start to tell us a different story. I mean, God, the one who created us, the one who saved us, the one who calls us his own, often just gets a few minutes a day. If that, most people don't give anything outside of church on Sundays. And if that, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. And in times of crisis, when things are going bad, when we hit walls of resistance, when we're struggling, he suddenly gets all of our attention when we need it. So that should really tell us something. How do we actually truly know that we're living for the Lord? When our thoughts turn to him naturally, just out of habits, right? Just naturally, when things happen, you just turn to him versus trying to lean on your own understanding. And that just happens naturally, and it happens out of love. When we look for ways to serve others, not for credits, not for recognition, but simply out of compassion, wanting to help or serve somebody else, to make a positive impact in their life. When we slow down enough to hear his voice through scripture, through prayer, through stillness, through meditating on scripture, when we just take a moment to sit with him, even if it's just listening and not speaking. And when we do, we surrender our daily lives to him. We find what we've been missing all along: peace, purpose, and presence. So living for the Lord isn't just about Sunday church sessions, a Sunday checkbox like, yep, I went to church this Sunday. I'm living for the Lord. It's about how this shapes us on a daily basis. And if we belong to him, let's start living like it. So today, ask yourself, what am I really living for? Are you really living for the Lord? Or are you living for this world? Or are you living just for yourself, your selfish intentions, your selfish desires? Are you truly living for the Lord? Are you putting him front and center in your life? Are you putting him front and center in your trading, in your business, in your relationships, in your family? Are you truly living for the Lord? You naturally turn to him on a consistent basis, not just when things are getting tough. Ask yourself, what are you really, truly living for today? And then take a small but intentional step today, whether it's prayer, an act of kindness, or just opening up the Bible and spending time in his word, just to realign your life with his and what he wants. So that was Romans 14:8. Again, if we live for the Lord. And if we die for the Lord. So whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. Some powerful stuff, because it gets you to think. It really puts things into a different perspective. You may call yourself a Christian. You may say, I believe in God, or I know God, or I got a great relationship. But if you really look at it, all you're doing is going to church on Sunday. So, hey, do you really live for the Lord? If not, there's a couple things that you can do today to start living for him and not living for this world, or just living for yourself. So amen to that, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we start our day around here. Powerful way to start the day. Right, but now the moment you've all been waiting for. I know a lot of you just show up for stocks, but hey, listen, I put God front and center in everything that I do, and that starts right here on a daily basis. So that's the word of God. That's how we're starting our day. Now, woo, we get to dive into stocks. All right, so let's go ahead and do the typical SPY Q top-down analysis. Not only are you guys going to get prepared for the day, you guys are going to learn the process of getting prepared and how we go through and find the best of the best trades of the day. So you guys get to learn a lot. You guys get prepared as well. And then we'll have some time to look at your individual stocks as well. So make sure you have those stocks typed up, ready to rock and roll, so we can definitely jam on those as well. So we're going to go SPY on a weekly time frame to start. And we already know what we've gotten on a weekly. We still got this weekly gap down below. And we still got that weekly demand zone sitting down here as well. So there was your nice little drop base rally on the weekly time frame. Even had a nice gap up that next week. So you got your demand zone sitting right there. And then you got that big old daily gap. Not a daily gap, Josh. It's a weekly gap. So you got your weekly gap sitting here on the SPY as well. So we're going to go do the typical gap. So we're going to go body to body on the gap, and then we're going to go wick to wick. So when we drill down into the daily time frame, we'll get an idea of which gap area was better respected. Because we have been near the gap level over the past couple of weeks. So we just want to see, based on the daily, some of those lower time frames, again, which gap level has been better respected, just based on, you know, price action and price development off that level. Why is this not changing? I'm hitting the default button. Default, default, default. That's, default, save. Okay, cool. It should be blue. It wasn't blue, so it was throwing me off. So we're going to go body to body on that weekly gap, and then we're going to go wick to wick as well, because you can see here that not last week, but the week before, we got down to the top of that weekly gap off the wick, and then popped on up a little bit. So we want to do the same thing. We want to go mark up that gap from the wick to wick. So that's what we've done. We've gone body to body, gap analysis, then we did wick to wick. We're going to drill down to the lower time frames and see what else we've got. Is there anything else on a weekly? We're looking at weekly gaps, weekly supply, weekly demand, and we are wrapping it up on a weekly. Now we got to go flip this bad boy down into a daily time frame, and let's get an idea of what we've seen here on SPY's daily near that gap level. So we can see that if we look at the top of the gap, you got a couple of different hits on the top of the gap. You got a low at A bounce, high at A rejection. So we can see a couple decent hits here when we're looking at the gap level off the weekly body. And then we only came down one time, and that was that gap down on Friday the 23rd into the top of the gap that was off of the wick. So there's nothing that really stands out that says, oh, hey, it's definitely body to body's the gap that's being respected compared to wick to wick. So I still want to leave both of these up here on the SPY, that weekly gap going body to body and wick to wick, just to get an idea of, hey, do we get down into some of these lower gap levels? And if so, how would we want to trade off some of these lower gap levels and then utilizing some of those areas as targets as well? All right, so let's go ahead and do some not weekly. It's a Monday. Bear with me, guys. It's a Monday, okay? I can't talk right. We're going to do some daily supply-demand analysis, all right? So we got this daily supply candle sitting right here from May 20th. So let's go ahead and throw that supply zone on up right there on the SPY. We have this nice little drop, base, drop formation. So that's going to give us our daily supply. But we see price already came back into that zone on Thursday. We hit about 30% of that zone, and then price fell to the downside. So I'm going to readjust that supply zone to where I'm only looking at the area of supply where price has not been. So this is still a high probability area where I want to look to play some puts here on the SPYs inside of some of that daily supply where, again, price has yet to revisit. So I'm going to make my adjustment there. We got some good supply overhead. Any demand nearby? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of demand. Yeah, we got demand here. We got demand here. We got demand here. There's a lot of demand. But where is current price and where is that closest level of demand? It's like way down here, way down here. And I highly doubt we're going to be moving into those levels today. So I'm okay with not marking up those demand zones because I just don't think price will be getting down into the 560s today. So I think there's going to be better areas in this region here that are just more actionable areas to look to trade off of. So I got my daily supply. We're going to have some daily demand sitting down inside of that gap level. So when we get down to like a 4 hour, a 1 hour, we'll see some better candle structure to go ahead and mark up some of that lower time frame demand. So we're pretty much good on the daily. The last thing we want to do on the daily is go in and find our key significant zones of support and resistance. And then we're going to wrap this up and then start flipping it down into a lower time frame and start building some plans for today. So first zone of daily support is going to be down here between 584.48 to 585.37. So again, that's 584.48 to 585.37. I mean, we came up and hit this level for like 2 weeks straight and just grinded that zone as resistance. Had a gap up low a day, big bounce, come back down, grind it for 4 trading sessions, big rip off that level. And then you can see we've got quite a few more touch points to, again, further validate this is a high probability zone of daily support. So we got that daily zone of support, same area that we came down to on Friday. And it looks like we came down to it. We grinded that zone, and then we had a pretty nice pop to the upside. So that zone was already respected. Below that zone, what's the next key level to the downside? It's going to be the top of the weekly gap. So I'm good to go on any zones to the downside. Now I want to find any zones to the upside, any key areas of resistance. So this is going to be a pretty key area as well. Here on the SPY, we can see that it was hit 1, 2, 3, 4 times just in this 2-week window. If you look left, we got a nice low a day, big bounce, gap up, low a day, big bounce to the upside. So we can see we've hit the zone several times, and we've seen sharp, significant moves off the zone. Boom, sharp move right here. Low a day, bounce, boom, sharp move. And then again, we've hit it 1, 2, 3, 4 different times in that 2-week window. So we got quite a few hits off the zone. And the other thing that I'm looking for is how sharp and significant has the move been off that certain zone. And we can see we've had a couple of very sharp, significant moves off that zone. So that's a very dialed in zone. That's between 588.94 to 589.63. And so if I look at the SPY, it's like I feel pretty good. I got supply to the upside. I have these 2 key daily zones that I could trade off of. And then we start getting into the weekly gap down below. So I feel pretty good. Depends on where price is. So price is in between our 2 key daily zones. We got supply overhead. We got gap to the downside. This is enough for today's session. I don't need to go through and find 10 other zones. These are the best of the best, most significant levels of the trade-off of. So I'm going to keep it at that. I just have to wait to see the stock get to one of these levels. So I really just got to be patient, wait for the market to move and come to me. And then I already know that the types of trades that set up off of these larger time frame zones are going to be some of the best trades of the day. So I'm already good on the daily. Let's wrap that up. And then let's go right into a 4-hour time frame. And now we're just doing some 4-hour supply-demand analysis to see if there's any other key areas that we have on a lower time frame. So do I have any nearby demand here on the SPY on a 4-hour? Yeah, I mean, way down inside the gap, but that's way down here anyway, in the 578s. And plus, we got the 2 gap levels. So I'm good on that. Any supply to the upside? I don't see any supply. I mean, we had supply back here, but we've already just ripped through that level, so that's already been mitigated. I don't care about that zone. So I don't really see any actionable levels of supply demand on a 4-hour. Let's go ahead and go into a 1-hour time frame, right? Again, same thing, supply demand analysis. What do we got? So let's look at just Friday session. I mean, we do have some 1-hour demand from Friday session, we have this drop base rally formation. We can see that 1 hour candle close was above that prior swing high. So we did break the oppositional leg to the downside. That impulse was very strong. So, I mean, that is some actionable demand from Friday session on a 1 hour time frame. And you got this big drop base rally. So, I mean, you're going to be marking up a pretty big zone. And so that's already a big zone that I wouldn't look the trade inside of. I already know I'm drilling down into a 30-minute time frame, a 15-minute time frame to see, do I have any lower time frame zones of demand inside of that bigger 1 hour? I already know there's 1 hour demand, but that's such a big zone, I can't trade inside of it. I need to go grab my lower time frame zones anyway, but just to keep my chart clean, I'm not going to mark up that 1 hour demand zone. I'm just going to go into my 30-minute, 15-minute, see what we have. But I already know there's going to be some larger time frame demand sitting around that 585. So I got demand down below. Any supply to the upside? Yeah, you got that little supply candle on a 1 hour time frame sitting right here. That was from Thursday and pre-market, but that is going to be some 1 hour supply where we have this drop base drop, and the impulse was pretty strong. We ended up impulsing out pretty hard, and that left us with another supply zone right here where we had this big drop, base drop. Price already comes back up, hits some of those unfilled orders on Friday, and then pops out. We can already see that supply zone here was already respected Friday. Price comes up, hits some of those unfilled orders, pops out. So I only want to look at the area where price has yet to go. So there's still going to be some of this 1 hour supply that we could see a setup take place inside of. So I'm going to keep that 1 hour supply zone there. We have that bigger 1 hour supply zone inside of some of the daily supply. So we already see we're getting some overlap here to the upside on the SPY. And we already know we're going to have some demand down off those lows from Friday. But there's one other supply zone that we've got to mark up, and it's the zone that we're hitting right now in pre-market. So if you guys trade futures, this is a nice potential quick little scalp opportunity on ES. We have some of this 1 hour supply. Price is coming back up into it. Expect to see a reaction out to the downside. But once we push through that zone, it's been mitigated. We need to remove it, but there is going to be a little bit of supply sitting right here on the SPY from pre-market. So we're good to go on all of our 1 hour supply demand. Let's go ahead and flip this down into a 30-minute, and let's finish this up. All right, so we were looking at the demand zone down below, and now we're in a 30-minute. So there's two zones that we have. We got the drop base rally. So there's your 30-minute demand zone. But then we see another demand zone right here where we have this rally base rally. So let's go ahead and mark up that demand zone. And what do we see this morning? Price has already come down inside of some of this 30-minute demand. We hit those unfilled orders, we pop out. Come back down, hit those unfilled orders, we pop out. That zone's already got 2 hits. It's a 30-minute zone. It's already got 2 hits. That zone's done. I don't care about it. Bye-bye. But we still have this unhit 30-minute demand zone down below from Friday. That's still valid. So we want to keep that there. We're looking at supply. We got supply. There is your 30-minute supply zone inside of the hour, inside of the day. So you see how we just starting to get all this overlap up here at the top? There's all of this overlap on these 3 time frames. So that's going to be a really good high probability area to play puts here on the SPY. That's up around 593.40. So yeah, 593.40 is going to be like an A+ area to take puts on the SPY because that's where we have daily 1 hour and 30-minute supply overlap sitting right in that price window. That's going to be a great area to get short. We got some of that unhit supply from Thursday session. That's still an area to the upside. And we got some of that 30-minute demand down below. Let's go finish this 100% on a 15, and then we're done. Drop base rally on the 15. So go to the low to the body of your basing candles. There's going to be your lower time frame demand. So we got some 30-minute, we got some 1 hour, we got some 15-minute demand down below. And we still see that we have all of those overlapping zones of supply to the upside. So let's go ahead and build our plans for the day. Now that we've done all of our analysis on every time frame, we're starting to paint a picture of what kind of trades could we see for today, okay? And so we just want to go ahead and plan that ahead. We want to visualize what this would look like for today's session. So if we open and come down into this daily zone of support, remember we have a daily zone of support between 584.48 to 585.37. Got a daily zone of support down there. But what do we also have? We have hourly, 30-minute, 15-minute demand also sitting at that zone of support. What would Josh want to do? Josh would want to play calls, right? Josh would want to get long. Why? Daily support, 3 zones of demand that all line up at 584.54. Like to the penny. 584.54 is where my daily zone of support is, and where I have those 3 different time frames of demand. So if price gets down into that 584.54 level, I am definitely playing calls. 100%. That is an A+ area to play calls. There's an 80% chance if we get down to that price, we pop to the upside. So why would I not want to take that trade when there's already 80% odds that we get the reaction and we get the move to the upside? So that's going to be game plan number 1, is if we come down and hit that 584.84 level. No, it's 584.54. I'm playing calls. If the SPY gets up to that 589 zone, we just got to see what price action does. Do we come up and start to top out at that zone? If so, we play puts. Do we see price come up and break that zone? If we come up and break that 589 zone, wait for the retest. If we see a good retest with really good price action, what would we want to do? Simply play the break and retest long up into some of that supply from Thursday's session. That's going to put you up around 591 before you hit some of that supply. So there's about $2 of upside from zone to zone. So you can trade the break and the retest long, get about $2 to the upside out of it. And if we get that long inside of that overlapping demand in that daily zone of support, how much room to the upside would we have? Well, we would have room from 584.54 to 589. So you're talking 5 points to the upside. So again, nice long from zone to zone, catch about 5 points. Another break and retest long from zone to supply, you catch about 2 points out of that here on the SPY. So either way, we just got to wait and see what the SPY does when it gets to one of these levels. That's it. Just wait for the price to get to one of these levels. Build your plans, assess the trade correctly, and you're ready to rock and roll. But these are the best of the best areas that you would want to be trading off of today. All right, so we are done with the SPY. Let's go ahead and do a speed round on QQQ because I still want to have enough time to look at your stocks for the day as well. So we're not going to be as thorough with explaining everything we have on the Qs like we just did with the SPY. But we will still get you guys prepared. You're on QQQ. So I am on a weekly time frame here on the Qs. I'm marking up my weekly demand that we have here. I'm also going to be marking up my weekly gap that we have here on the Qs as well. So we got the weekly gap. We got weekly demand. That's it. We're going to go right down into a daily time frame, and we're going to do the same thing. Do we have any daily gaps? We do. We had this big daily gap here that we almost filled on Friday, but we didn't completely fill this daily gap. Right, so I'm doing some daily gap analysis. I have this daily gap. I have my weekly gap. I have my weekly demand. Are there any other daily gaps? I don't see any other daily gaps. Right, so now I'm done with daily gap analysis. Let's do some daily supply and demand analysis. Look at price up to the left. Do I have any supply here? I do not. Do I have any supply here? Good rule of thumb is there's no supply at all-time highs. So I don't have any daily supply. I don't even have any weekly supply. So there's nothing here. Let's go see if there's any good daily demand. Well, there's going to be daily demand right here. We have this drop base rally, but again, I want to go find those smaller, lower time frame zones that I already know are going to line up inside of my daily anyway. But I know I got some daily demand sitting down there. And then more daily demand down here at like 488. But let's be honest, we're at 517 right now. We're not getting down to 488 today. So to keep my chart clean, I'm not going to go mark up that daily demand because it's too far away. Price is not getting there today. So daily gap analysis, done. Daily supply demand analysis, done. What's the last thing we need to do? Support resistance. Some would say your arbitrary lines. Well, hey, listen, those arbitrary lines are respected 70 to 80% of the time. So if it works and there's an edge around it, I'm using it. So daily support resistance, we got this zone up here between 521.74 to 522.56. There's another zone right here between 519.08 to 519.66. Yep, so you got 519.08 to 519.66. That's a daily zone of support resistance. Then you got this zone right here between 521.74 to 522.56. That's another really good zone of daily support resistance. Then we got this daily gap down below as well. Okay. So we're done on a daily. Let's go wrap this up on some of these lower time frames. So 4-hour time frame, what am I doing? Looking for supply demand. That's what I'm really doing here. Looking for some supply and demand. So I got some demand down here at the bottom of that daily gap. So let's go ahead and mark up that 4-hour demand zone. Again, that's down at the bottom of the daily gap. So that's going to be something there. Itty supply to the upside on a 4-hour time frame. That's a negative, Ghost Rider. So we don't have anything on a 4-hour. Let's go into a 1-hour. We're doing the same thing. Do we have any 1-hour supply and demand? Well, we do. Look at price, look left. That's all I want you guys to do. Look at price, look up to the left, and we're looking for clear supply-demand structure. So we can see here that we had this little rally-based drop right there, but price already came back up and hit those unfilled orders and popped out. So I am not going to put any supply in this region because we already hit those unfilled orders and price fell. So we're done. Where's our next area of supply on a 1-hour? Well, it's going to be sitting right here on QQQ. We can see we had this big drop, base drop. Price has not come back up into that zone yet. So that's still a key zone of some 1-hour supply. Cool. I got another supply zone sitting right here on a 1-hour. Another drop, base, drop. Right there. So I got some 1-hour supply to the upside. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Look at price and look down to the left for demand. And I know that I'm going to have some 1-hour demand off those lows from Friday. We had a drop base rally. But that's going to be a pretty big 1-hour demand zone. So I already know I have 1-hour demand. I'm going to find the smaller zones on a 30-minute and a 15-minute. Those are the smaller zones that I'm looking to trade inside of. But I already know there is, what? 1-hour demand sitting up against those lows from Friday session. So I'm good on the 1-hour. I've got my 1-hour supply. I know I have some 1-hour demand. But I'm going to go flip this down into a 30-minute. And I'm going to do just that. I'm going to go mark up my 30-minute demand zone. Look at how tight that 30-minute demand zone is. Look at that. Isn't that just sexy? We already know that all of this is 1-hour demand, but look at how tight that 30-minute demand zone is down here from Friday. That's a really, really tight level that I want to be trading long inside of if we get there. And I already know we're going to have some 15-minute probably sitting right there as well. So I got some 30-minute demand from Friday session. We got that rally base rally. That was a very strong impulse, a move to the upside. Probably left behind some unfilled orders. Let's go see if we have any 30-minute supply. Nothing actionable here. 30-minute supply. We got 30-minute supplies sitting right here, but it's almost the same as the hour. So you mark it up if you want, but it's pretty much the same size zone as the one that we had on the hour. You got some overlapping supply on the Qs, and we got some of that demand on the Qs. Let's go finish on a 15. Go finish on a 15-minute time frame, and what do we have? We have this rally, base rally on the Qs. So that's going to be the same zone as the 30-minute. But again, if you want to mark that zone up, you can. We got 2 overlapping zones down below. We got a 1 hour. Actually, we got 3. We have a 1 hour. We have a 30-minute, and we have a 15-minute overlap. That's demand down around 514.24. So if Qs come down to that 514.24 level and we see a reaction, I'm going to play that long, expecting price to move back to the upside if we come down into some of that overlapping demand. We're sitting off the top of the gap, but we have resistance up between 519.08 to 519.66. With more resistance up around 522, and we got some supply sitting up around 522 as well. So what are the plans for the day? Well, we got plan number 1. That's going to be getting long off some of that demand overlap. If we don't get back below the gap level of 516.06, let's say we just continue to hit 516.06 today and hold that level as support, that's the top of the daily gap, and that is a key support level. So, I mean, we could play long off 516.06 back up to that 519 zone. That's a good plan. I would trade that. If we get up to that 519 zone and we top out and we just cannot break above it, I will get short off that level of resistance if we can't break through it. So that's another plan if we get to that 519 zone. If price breaks through that 519 zone, what do we want to see? A simple retest as support with A+ price action. If we see the break and we see the healthy retest, I'll simply get long and play calls off that 519 zone up into this 522 zone. And that's where stuff gets exciting because I want to short off that 522 zone because we have some supply sitting there as well. So if we get the break and the retest long, the target would be that 522 zone, but then I'm looking to flip short because I'm expecting to see price drop to the downside off that daily zone of resistance and off some of that 1 hour supply that we have sitting overhead. So this right here, where we have the overlap between that daily zone of resistance and that supply zone, that overlap right there, that's going to be the best area to play puts today. That's going to be the highest probability area to get short and play puts. And a good long, again, being down in some of that demand. That's going to be a pretty good area to look to get long. But we still see there's a couple different ways we can trade the Qs. The break, the retest, we could play that. Comes up and tops out at that 519 zone. We could play that short. That's a good setup. And maybe we just have really good price action off the top of the daily gap at 516.06. Well, that would be another really good setup if we've got really good price action developing off the top of the gap. So we see there's about 5 different good ways that we could see the Q set up, and we could have some really nice trades for today. All right, so that's the Qs. We've got our zones dialed across all of our time frames. We know where we want to be trading the Qs. That's the biggest thing is like, where do I want to actually be taking trades? Off your zones. So come in and find your zones and find your levels. Wait for the stock's price to get there. Then start looking to take trades. And so we're one step ahead of most traders that don't do this. So we just got to wait for the market to open at 9:30. Let the price come to one of these areas and then start looking to take some trades. It's that simple. So we're good on the Qs. You're dialed. And we're good on the SPY. Pretty dialed in as well on the SPY. So I'm good for the day, guys. Now let's start looking at some of your individual stocks as well. So are there any other stocks besides the SPY and the Qs that you think have really good potential for a day trade today? I don't really go into doing 5-minute time frame analysis when we're still in pre-market. So I stop at a 15, but when the market opens, I will go down into a 2-minute and a 5-minute time frame to do more analysis when the market's open. And I'll actually look to take trades based on what I see on the 2-minute, the 5-minute time frame. But as far as my larger time frames, 15-minute all the way up to like a weekly, everything in between to find my key zones. NVIDIA. Yeah, man. Let's go take a look at NVIDIA and see if we have anything for today. What did we see last week? We came up, we hit some of that supply on NVIDIA. We came right back down below a very, very strong zone of resistance. So we had resistance on NVIDIA between 136.26 to 137.29. You can see we came up and hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We gapped above it because of earnings, but price came back below that zone within 2 days. I want to see a lower high retest off that zone. So if we can see price open below that zone today, push back up into it and start to top out and roll off that zone on a lower time frame, and we see that good price action off that zone, like, yep, there's more sellers than buyers, I would want to play puts off that zone, expecting another 1 or 2 days of downside here on NVIDIA. Where do I think NVIDIA can get to? Well, we have demand here on NVIDIA's daily. So you see this drop base rally. We got some demand sitting down here around 131. And there's also this big daily gap. So you guys see that big daily gap? We could also come down and fill the gap on NVIDIA. So we got this big daily gap here that we pierced into the gap on Friday, but then popped to the upside. So that gap is still technically unfilled. And then what do we have right below the gap level? Well, we got that daily demand zone sitting right below the gap level. So do I think this is a great area that we could see NVIDIA get to? Yeah. So I think there could be a little bit more downside. If we fail to break back above that daily zone of resistance, if we see good price action developing off that zone and we start to see that lower high formation, I want to get short off that zone and play it down into that gap level and then possibly into some of that demand. And I would short down into that lower level. Then I would actually be thinking about getting long on NVIDIA if we ever come down and hit some of that daily demand. So where are we at on NVIDIA right now in pre-market? We are sitting right above the top of the daily gap, but we're still below that daily zone of resistance. So here's what I want to do is I want to go see if there's any supply or demand that could help piece together a really nice trade here. So we do have some 4-hour supply on NVIDIA right up here. We can see that we have this nice little rally base drop. So there's some supply sitting here. Demand, we already know there's demand on the daily down around 131. Let's go into a 1-hour time frame. Oh, look at that. That looks good. I like when that happens. You see that 1-hour supply candle right there? So I'm going to remove that top zone of supply. But you see this supply zone right here from Friday sesh. We got this drop base drop formation on a 1-hour time frame. So you got that supply candle, but take note of where that supply candle is. Huh, it's right off that daily zone of resistance. So you see those two overlap each other. So we're already starting to identify this is going to be a great area to look for puts. We got that daily zone of resistance that we already want to get short off of, but we're building in confluence. Now we have a 1-hour supply zone sitting right there at that daily zone of resistance. Hey, that's starting to look really good. Let's go now into a 30-minute time frame. And yeah, look at that big 30-minute order block that you have sitting right there. That's a big 30-minute order block, and you have that 1-hour supply. So that's another confluence. You got a 30-minute order block sitting right there. You got this drop-based drop formation. So you got some 30-minute supply sitting right here as well, right? Because we have this drop-based drop. So we got 30-minute supply sitting inside of hourly supply, sitting off that daily zone of resistance. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to feel pretty confident that we're going to see a nice short possibly set up off this this level on NVIDIA. So I like getting short somewhere around 136.60. Like, that's right where all of those zones meet, is right around 136.60. That's where we have our daily zone of resistance. We have a couple of those supply zones sitting right there as well. How much risk would you need to put on this trade? Well, from entry to stop, you would need about $1 of risk. You would just have to risk $1. Where's your targets? Your first target's going to be the top of the daily gap at 134. So this is what your plan would look like on NVIDIA. Getting short right around this 136.60 level, putting stops about $1 to the upside above that zone, above that supply, so you don't get prematurely stopped out. Your first target's going to have to be the top of the gap. So you're rocking about a 2.5 to 1 risk reward into your first target. But what would be your overall goal to see NVIDIA do? Come down and fill the gap, right? So that's going to be your second target, is can NVIDIA come down and also fill this gap? That's your target if you're going to leave a runner on that trade. What can your runner get you? About a 5 to 1 risk reward on NVIDIA. So we already know where we want to get short and why we want to get short there. There's a high probability chance that if price gets to that level, price drops. So I already know I want to get short there because the odds of getting short are in my favor. My stops are $1 away, and that's so I don't get prematurely stopped out. I know my first target gives me a 2 to 1 risk reward, so it's decent. But my main target, which is filling the gap on NVIDIA, gives me a 5 to 1 risk reward. I like the odds of getting short. So the odds are good. And I like the risk reward on NVIDIA. So I would absolutely take this trade myself. 100%. So I like it. NVIDIA, I think it should be on watch today. Absolutely. So yeah, it looks good. I can dig it. So that's NVIDIA. I got time for one more, so type it up. I'll review it, but I got to go warm up my coffee first, and I'll be right back with you guys. Jared says, thank you so much. By the way, your zoning, training, and supply and demand has upped your trading. Yeah, bro. I'm glad that you hit me up. You got those trainings. You actually watched the trainings, and you're applying it, right? It's simple stuff, right? The concepts, super simple. But it's the ones that show up, take the initiative, go through the trainings, they apply it, just like you, man. It's like, dude, game changer. You've already seen your trading level up, and I just hooked you up with a couple of free trainings. So that goes for everybody. If you guys are like struggling with your trading, if you're not like hitting the goals that you guys have, I have tons of free trainings that I'll hook you guys up with. All you have to do is send me a DM on TikTok, say, yo, I want a free training. I'll send you a link to the training, and you guys are set. You could be like Jared that hits me up, says, yo, I want a training, watches the training, applies it, and he's like, yep, my trading's already leveling up. So that could be you. You just got to send me a DM. I'll hook you guys up. Nike playing out a short thesis into earnings, NKE. Let's go do some analysis on Nike, some analysis. So if we're thinking maybe a short thesis into earnings, I'm thinking you're going to be more swing trade. Let's go right to a monthly time frame and let's do some monthly analysis. We had this monthly demand sitting right here. That price already came down, hit some of those unfilled orders, and popped out. That was not last month, but the month before. We already came down and hit some of this monthly demand. See, price comes down, hits it, pops. So we still have some of this monthly demand that has not been hit. So there's still good reason to be looking to play some calls down inside of that monthly demand zone. Do we have anything else on a monthly time frame that we need to be mindful of? Yeah, we got this little rally-based drop formation here on a monthly. So you're going to have some monthly supply way back up here in the 70s. We got some monthly demand, monthly supply. Let's go into a weekly time frame. When's earnings? Earnings are June 26th. They got a couple weeks. All right, so let's go do some weekly supply demand analysis. So you're going to have this rally base drop formation. So then you're going to have your weekly supply up here around $80, which is inside of your monthly supply zone. There's no other supply on this move down. So this is where you got your monthly, weekly supply to the upside. This is going to be a great area to play puts all day. That's a very, very key level. But it looks like this was a previous hit off some of this supply from back here. Price comes up, hits some of those unfilled orders, bases, impulses. That impulse was really strong, created some new supply, the gap down. I'm still going to validate this area of supply as there's still going to be some unfilled orders there. Even though it looked like a hit off that zone, this impulse was 10 times stronger than that impulse. Plus, we gapped down here week over week before the impulse. That's a valid zone. Let's go look at some weekly demand. Here's weekly demand here on NKE. Right here. Right, we have this drop-base rally formation. So you're going to have some weekly demand on NKE sitting right there. You got a weekly gap as well, so don't forget about the weekly gap we have. It's sitting right down below. So you got the bottom of your weekly gap at 58.32. So at 58.32, we have the bottom of weekly gap. And we know that's also the top of weekly demand at 58.32. So that's already looking pretty good for a possible long around 58.32. We know we had some monthly demand that we already came down and hit. Do we have any weekly demand? We do. There's your drop-based rally formation. So you got some weekly demand on top of the monthly demand. And here's the cool thing. We haven't come and hit the overlap yet. So there's still a good area down here to possibly get long on NKE. So we got two overlapping bottom zones of demand. We got this weekly demand zone. We got the bottom of a weekly gap. Supplies all the way up in the 80s. So that's a pretty long distance to the upside. You're in a downtrend. So one thing just to take note of is we are downtrending right now on a weekly. So you just got to tread lightly with getting long off demand when you're in a higher time frame downtrend. We are downtrending. So it's not to say you can't get long off some of this demand, but you need to understand that you're getting long in a big downtrend. And this is a weekly time frame, and we clearly see the trend is down. So you can look for those quick scalps, those quick hits off demand. But as far as expecting full-blown follow-through to the upside, I wouldn't expect full-blown upside follow-through in a strong downtrend. But let's say we come up and hit some of this supply. You would be hitting supply in a downtrend. Those are the types of trades that we expect follow-through. So getting short on NKE off supply makes sense to expect follow-through. Getting long on NKE off some of this demand, holding for follow-through doesn't make sense because you're trading against the grain. You're trading against the trend. You can still get some nice scalps, nice hits, short-term swing trades, but expecting full-blown follow-through, that's going to be tough because you're trading against the trend here. But getting short off supply in line with the downtrend, now we can expect some follow-through. Let's go wrap this up on a daily time frame. And see what we have on a daily. We got some daily demand sitting right here. That's inside of the weekly demand. So we got some daily inside of the weekly. Right here, we got this rally-based rally, come down, hit, pop on out. So we got some confluence building down here. You also have a little bit more daily demand sitting right there. The impulse out was pretty strong. Didn't break the oppositional leg, but we had a strong impulse. Lot of resistance overhead. Lot of resistance on NKE. Between 63.16 to 63.49. You got a lot of this just short-term resistance. We got demand down here between 59.50 and $60. That's daily demand. Then we have the bottom of the weekly gap and the top of weekly demand around 58.32. There's a lot going on here. And you got more supply on the daily sitting up here between 65.47 to 67.13. You're going to have more supply sitting right there. So you're in a weekly downtrend. So we'd rather be getting short in the downtrend to expect follow through. But if you're looking for some quick hits to the upside, we can definitely scalp off some of these daily demand zones and do some quick hits to the upside. Until we get into some of this supply, where that's going to be some better areas to get short and expect follow through. So if we are sitting in this daily supply zone ahead of earnings, I would short Nike through earnings. But if for some reason we're sitting down here at the top of weekly demand into earnings, I would still play a long through earnings on Nike because we're sitting inside of some higher time frame demand, regardless of the trend, and just look for some big move through earnings. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, would I get long on NKE off this bottom demand zone and play it back up into resistance ahead of earnings? Yes. If we are sitting at one of these supply or demand zones ahead of earnings, I think there could be a nice trade that we swing through earnings with little risk, but positioned to have, a lot of good upside on Nike as well. So that's the only thing that I see right now, is getting long between $59.50 to $60 inside of some of this daily demand. Play it long back up towards around 63.30 for a nice short-term swing trade, and then really waiting to see where we are at the week of earnings to see, can we trade anything through earnings. The biggest thing is we are in a weekly downtrend. So better getting short, expecting follow through, but could we still look for those quick swing trades to the upside? We still can. Absolutely. Got to be mindful of the trend though, and that is down. So that's kind of where I'm at with Nike and how I see Nike right now. But it's 9:28, ladies and gentlemen. What do we got? We got about 2 minutes till market open. So yeah, we got to get in the Zoom session, don't we, guys? We got to get that Zoom fired up. So if you guys are on TikTok this morning, appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys are tuning in over on YouTube, appreciate you guys as well. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here for the morning breakdown session. We do this a couple times throughout the week, usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I am live on TikTok, YouTube with you guys, but I do this every single day inside of our community with mentorship students. So if you guys are inside of the platform, we're always here 5 days a week. We're getting ready to load up that Zoom session, start doing our coaching with you guys, start trading together, have some fun, lock in some awesome profits. But appreciate you guys tuning in on YouTube. Appreciate you guys being here over on TikTok as well. Stay blessed. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you guys back here probably Wednesday morning at 8:30 as we do the breakdown with you guys again. And I love these sessions because not only are you getting prepared for the day as far as the best areas to trade off of, my personal game plans as far as what I'm looking to do and how I'm looking to trade and navigate the market, you guys are learning the process at the same time. If you guys can just learn this process and do this on a consistent basis, you're already trading at the top 10% of traders that fail to do this consistently. So just get this dialed in, perfect this, implement this. You're already going to be a much better trader. So I like these sessions because you guys are able to learn the process at the same time and still get prepared. I give you guys my plans on a silver platter. I make it pretty easy for you guys. But Have a good one. Stay blessed. Trade smart, trade safe, and I will catch you guys back here Wednesday. But it's time to fire up that Zoom session, ladies and gentlemen. So give me one moment, and I'll be in there with you guys.